Hello everyone and welcome to today's live stream. Today we're doing something really nice. We're gonna have a look at an animation series that is on Netflix now. Kid Cosmic is the new series by Craig McCracken, and I think Alex Hirsch worked on it too. It has a little bit of superhero, it has a little bit of mystery, and the animation style is really fun and action-driven and cartoony. And today we're gonna have a look at how the animation style works, because it's very snappy and very pose-to-pose. And yeah, I'm always fascinated by styles like this. And I wanna have a closer look with you at what makes this amazing snappy pose-to-pose animation style work. So welcome everybody for today's animation analysis. We're gonna have a closer look at Craig McCracken's Kid Cosmic. You can find the link to the YouTube clip that we'll be analyzing in the video description. Thank you for following, Haas. And yeah, we're gonna draw over things, look at things frame by frame, and see what cool things we can find. Now, before we start, let me pull up the chat and make sure that I see everything. Just a second here. I haven't live streamed in a while. Apologies for this, but yeah, ready in a second. Hi Minecraft TikTok hack. Hi Universal Galaxy. Nice to see you. So I'll be using a software called Sketch to draw over the frames and scrub through the animation. Sketch is an awesome service where you can upload your animations and yeah, scrub through them frame by frame. And let's jump into it. I'm gonna switch off the music so we can focus a little bit. And one of the things that is amazing, not only this series, but I think for everything that Craig McCracken does, is how on point like the facial expressions and the poses are. It's just so cartoony, so clear. Like you have this almost emoji style kinda facial expression. It is so clear what this character is feeling. There's no doubt about it. For this character in general, I always really like her neck. They use this for a lot of really cool expressive poses. And yeah, he just, you know, this pose is so wonderfully readable, and then only topped off by this one. And look at how the transition happens. Like everything. Well, first of all, we have the cups coming around that tell the story of, yeah, here, we want the coffee. And after the cups are vanished, she does the next facial expression. And look how she goes into it. It's just, there's like no big anticipation. It's just within like, oh, there is a little bit of an anticipation. See, there's like one tiny anticipation. And here you can see this is actually rigged. Like the animation looks so, it changes the shape so much that you could think that this is frame by frame animation, but it actually is rigs, which probably have a lot of replacement poses. But yeah, it's a rig, and you can see that very clearly. Like the neck is rotating with everything that is attached to it, and here we have the next shape of her eye. Look how it just goes into one anticipation frame like this, dips down, and then bam, we have the new pose with not much of in-betweens, but then it catches that big change. Like we have a huge change from here to there, and then to mellow that out a little bit, to not have it look too jumpy, there is some extra frames here. You can see it in the hair very clearly, how it makes this big jump, boom, but then we have like two frames on twos, everything is on twos, to capture that big change. And then we have that little loop in the mouth, and without looking, she's dipping down the hand with the coffee. Again, in motions like this, you can see that this is a rig. You can see the hand, the arm drop straight down, and the hand dipping down a little bit. It reveals that little gap here that wasn't revealed before, because the hand is now rotating so much outwards and down there. And I just love that loop. By the way, those lines around the eyes, I feel like in a lot of Craig McCracken's work, you can always see influences from other things. And this kind of has like a Peanuts kind of style. In Peanuts, they often do that with the rings around the eyes to push the expressions a little bit. Oh, good point, Mr. Creative. The background is completely in one color. It's just this orange-yellow thing. Isn't it interesting how it kind of unifies the background? There's a lot going on in the background, but we can still clearly see what's happening in the foreground, especially with her purple hair. That's a really good point. Good morning, Gabriel. Hello, Sushant. Hello, Indie Animo. Hello, Dark Knight. Nice to see you. Hey, Bernard. This is an animation analysis. We might have time to answer some questions at the end of the live stream, but for now, I'm going to focus on showing you guys a little bit why I think this animation style is so amazing here in Kid Cosmic. So yeah, very focused post-to-post animation, but then there are those moments where it catches it with just a few extra frames to smooth out the post changes. And then the next thing that I want to get into, first of all, I think Kid's entrance is really cool.
That's about as wild as it gets around here.
Did you hear that? The little pause. This is as wild as it gets. Pause, and then you hear the door, and then we cut to the entrance, and we don't even see the door opening and closing and him coming through. Like, that would potentially be not a difficult animation, but it would be an animation that takes like a bunch of frames. So they don't do that. They hide all of that in the cut. And that is something very smart, that if you do your own animation style, your own animation show, shortcuts like this, a lot of people don't even notice it, but they can save you a lot of work without making your animation worse. You know, the story still works. He came through the door. It's just that we only heard it through the sound without having to make a lot of animation frames. So I'm always very much in favor of animation tricks like this. I like how they stress the dialogue. Like, I can only play this once for copyright reason, but see how the hand gesture, we have a post change coming up, goes together with what he says.
The Mo's Oasis Cafe.
Did you see that? The cafe, Mo's Oasis Cafe, really nice. Here we have a very classic, like, this is pose 1, then we have a switch into an anticipation pose coming up, and see how it starts. It starts with an ease, and in this ease, the arms are going up and the head is going down. This way we have like a nice interlocking thing of directions, which is something that I always very much like to do too, is you have the head dipping down and the arms dipping up. Same here, the hat went down even further. There was a replacement hat. We now look at his hat in a way that we can see the top side, and the arms are up above the head. And again, just ease frames, easing into that anticipation pose, and then boom, we are in the end pose, and we have an overshoot of the arms going back. There are no real in-betweens. I mean, okay, like the ease frames are kind of like, they are kind of like in-betweens, but like there's no, like, you don't see the middle of the motion or something like this. You only see stuff that is related close to the beginning and close to the end pose, which I think is a really effective way to do pose-to-pose animation and still have it feel a little smoother. I really like it that way. So this is like a how-to guide on if you want to have snappy pose-to-pose animation and don't animate a lot, but you still want it to look awesome. Like, this is the perfect guide to study how to do that. And it is so snappy and so amazing, and yet still so, not soft, but it still feels nice because you have those little elements of overshoots and eases. And I really like how the whole storyboarding is supporting all of this. Like, it always cuts like into the facial expressions. Like, you didn't see the mother get into that facial expression. She's already there. And I like this little, like, that's a very classic, like, kind of like a bouncing ball jump animation here. See if we can grab this. We have like a peak, and then we are in the breakdown on the way down, and then we are in the overshoot, in the catching, and see how the overshoot is held, but the cape is coming down. It's amazing how instead of redrawing him in the overshoot position, they only have the cape coming down, and then he snaps into the next pose, again with the cape settling, and him settling with just, do you see this? With just a little bit of a shift. But the cape helps to bridge everything. Look at this. And I absolutely love this. Like, going from here, oh, we have a nice breakdown in the middle, and then boom, we have this cool pose. By the way, the line of action in all of these is amazing. Look at this, how this line of action is going through the entire body, and we have like this energy poking out to all sides. Such strong posing. Really cool. Yeah, AVT says it's looking like only the keyframes are drawn. I think what they probably did many times is, yes, indeed, they only drew like the most important pose, and then they use rigs or deformation tools to like do this tiny bit of a shift. Like that. Really cool. And now we get into the action scene. Oh, actually, I really love this moment where he shows them the rings. And look at that animation here, where it's just chaos with the fingers. It's so lovely. I mean, I guess it follows if you look at the ring with the, if you look at the finger with the green ring, it kind of curls up, and then it goes up, goes extended again, goes down, curls up again. So there is a little bit of a progression to it, but the result just looks so crazy. Nice. Just some nice chaos, and it's not really concerned about like keeping the volumes of the finger. It's just a nice little chaotic animation here. Now, this animation is really interesting, where the diner owner, she wants to catch him. Look at how this is done. It's also just snapping from poses to poses. Here we have that key pose just being shoved into frame. Like, there is no redrawn animation here. It's just the character is attached to a keyframed interpolated rig and just pushed in. Really nice. And do you see this? Like how it's kind of like all happening at once with no in-betweens once again. But I think what helps to bridge this pose is that their heads are still in proximity. Like his head is still somewhat where it was before. Same with her head. And you know, eyes are always dragging the attention. So see, this relationship is kind of maintained, but what changed is that the body was pulled out here, and I think that really makes scenes like this work. And you see stuff like this through all the action sequences in the series. And then the poses are just so clear, and yeah, you see them do the same thing again with the arms. Look at her arms. They tighten like just a little bit of interpolation. That's such a nice technique. And then him fleeing, and he might be going into like a pre-made walk cycle. Like that makes a lot of sense. If you have a show like this, you should have prepared walk cycles of your main characters. And now look at her. Before she comes down, there's like this little bit of an ease, a little bit, and then boom, coming down. And we have this nice leg behind here of the head staying up. And again, stuff like this is similar to the cape that the boy was wearing. We have the follow through elements doing like a little overlap and follow through. And then we have again just this tiny moment of her popping up. Do you see the pattern here? I'll probably just continue to go through this animation and just find this pattern. It's so cool. Like if you ever do an animation and you want this snappy animation style and you want to save some work and not redraw everything all the time, like this is the way to do it. Make your main pose, then put everything like on pegs or like some different layers that you can move separately, and then just have them move a tiny little bit and then snap to the next pose and have that saddle with a tiny little bit. Really good trick. All right. And then what I do find interesting, that there are moments where they kind of like break this. Again, we have a jump that we saw earlier. He is in the breakdown, or at the here he is at the peak, coming down, somehow knocking over that bottle. And now look at the liquid here. The liquids, they are animated on 2, but they do have a fluent frame-by-frame animation. And this is something that I find very interesting throughout all the action sequences, that you can see that the character animation is very pose-to-pose, but then if we have like effects, they often are animated on 2s frame-by-frame, as you would do that. Look at this, how it goes into the curl shape here, and then the whole curl shape just goes down off the ketchup. Down, down, down. And it keeps that loop, which makes it very easy to follow how the ketchup travels, because you have this kind of loop as an anchor, and you follow that. And they probably track the spacing on that loop to make sure it's always an increasing spacing. And the loop in the ketchup stream is kind of the anchor for your eyes that makes it clear for you how this thing works. Yeah, AVT, that little motion after the keyframe you showed, what must be the spacing between frames. Yeah, this is just little little spacing after the keys. Gravity acts after some frames for the catch-up. Exactly, you know, it comes out like at this moment, it's kind of like it's just shooting out from, like it's already starting to curve. That is because of gravity, but this shoot to the right is just because it's pushed out, and then gravity starts acting first on this part and less on the other part here. And you know, same with the salt. Like the salt has some frames here that are very close together, starting the motion with an ease and then getting longer. Like here you have a larger spacing and a larger spacing and coming down. Let's again look at the character. So the character jumped down on the catch-up. We have like a little close together spacing here, and then he pops up again in an arc. This is the highest point of the arc. He's held there. Look at the head. The head is held in the air, and then he's coming down. Again with like this mini frame. This is just a variation of the frame before. And boom, he's down there. Good point by Easy L. I also like how the character lands on the perspective center. You are right. This is something that you will always see a lot, that the way that the characters are framed are always leading to one or more character. Very good observation. It is almost as if the background is pointing at him. And even here, so many lines are leading towards him. That makes a lot of sense. And I love how this guy stays absolutely still. He will be playing a role at the end of the series. I didn't even notice him much in the beginning, but he is in the background occasionally. And he's just looking at this without really reacting. Here again, we have the mother just being pushed in. Whoop. Like as if she's rolling in, and there's not even an ease. Like this is quite a huge spacing. I'm not sure if I would do it like this. Like I would probably be too chicken and say like, okay, that last spacing that needs to be smaller to have it a bit softer. But they really go for this abrupt standing still motion. If we play this, you will see how sudden she, like, almost like she locks into place there. Very good thing. I'm not sure if I would have been brave enough to animate it like this. She's just appearing. Mr. Creative. Yeah, camera angle is low. That is true too. Here we have sort of like an anticipation that happens while she is leaning forward, but for the hand, for this hand here, it's an anticipation. And then we have a little bit of a movement here, and then tick, the arm is all the way over, and then closing in the next motion. This is a really good way to direct attention. Like, you flip to a new pose, and because of this pose-to-pose style, I think they will sometimes have problems with, are we sure that the audience is looking here? But, I mean, we are, because, you know, everything was pointing in that direction. Kid was the last thing that was moving here, so we are definitely looking there. But to sell that even more, we have that one frame where she closes the hand, which additionally brings attention to Kid not being there anymore. And there we have the common trick of it starts moving a little bit and going into the next pose. Actually, this is quite a few in-betweens. I think this is the most in-betweens we have seen for a pose change. Like this time it has like 3 of these little frames where stuff is just moved around. And he keeps bouncing. And here we have a nice leap. That's very nice. And look at how her body changes that much of a distance, again with some frames to capture to catch that motion. Yeah, Lin linearly interpolated mother. Exactly. And then look how it plays with the layers. Like at first everything, Kid was here, the mother was there, and now we have Kid in front. It's just really nice. Look at that pose, she gets ready. It's only seen for a frame, but I love that walk cycle pose. Look at that, that's a really good run cycle. Really dynamic. Again, very strong line of action. We very often have that here. And look how straight that leg is. Like, it's so interesting how this is so vivid and yet a little bit geometric at the same time. Another thing that we didn't even talk about is how symmetric some of the poses are. Like, look at this. This is like perfect symmetry, but at the same time we have like those dirty elements. Look at how the fingers are drawn. These are not like carefully anatomically correct fingers. These are just like, I mean, to be able to draw like this deliberately messy but still readable and full of life, like it looks so chaotic, but a huge amount of skill goes into drawing fingers like that. So it's so interesting how this is a very static, stable pose, and yet so lively and chaotic in the lines. And it does have a lot of symmetry. Yeah, and then to make sure that we have seen this guy, because he has not moved, so he didn't draw a lot of attention towards him, but the makers want to be sure that we saw him, so he gets his own shot. And look how it's connected with the previous shot. She's running through the frame, revealing him. That's a really cool thing. It's not only cutting, it's like still going in the overall choreography with this wipe. So that this cut doesn't take us out of the action. There's still action for this character that is very static. And again, you know, just a little bit of a start of a motion, and it jumps to that pose and just has a little bit here. And look how the coffee just comes over there, like that huge distance. This is so amazing. Like, I'm not sure I would feel confident to animate like this. It just springs and it's suddenly there. And then we have some frames to do the actual action, the drink. And it kind of has like a real ease and something. Really delightful stuff. And how there's this extra push in at the end. You see that, like, the motion goes up and then he pushes in. Like, that for me somehow makes it more realistic, I guess. That you keep pushing, you know, when the liquid gets less, you kind of need to tilt it more. And somehow just this little gesture sells this drinking more, I think. Alrighty. And here we have these nice run cycle frames. And just very clear, a very clear run cycle. We have the contact. Then we are already immediately in the passing position. And then we have like a nice run cycle frame. And there it will go for the contact. Nice, nice, nice. JP Parks says, this style reminds me of Sunday funny comics in the newspaper. Yeah, very much. like especially the girl, I think, has so much of like a Charlie Brown vibe to her, like with this double line. And throughout the series they have like little moments where it cuts to like newspaper printing style. So yeah, it's heavily inspired by that. Really cool. Here they're doing something interesting again. Like they do have the run cycle left and right, and then they add to it by having those plates coming in. And, you know, again, very choppy. If I'm not mistaken, those are the same frames that we just saw in the other direction, which would make sense, you know? You wanna save work wherever you can. Look at those finger shapes. Really nice. Like the two hands, like she's not repeating the hand on the other side. The hand that is behind has a little bit of another hand shape. That's really good variation in here. Very strong line of action again. Very nice, different angles. The head isn't straight, but a little bit tilted over. Really cool flow of the poses. Upper body's kind of static. And here come the plates. And the plates, they have like frame by frame animation on twos, relatively fluent. And they take the time for the plate to like wriggle up and down. Like this plate kind of gets the most animation out of everything. And it adds like a dimension to the fight. And then something similar here. We have Kid sliding in. Look at her turn. Look at her turnaround. We have a little bit of a preparation of the turn here. Her hip comes over. Like her hip starts to lead the motion. Very nice. We have the hand dipping down and then like track the phone. The phone has a nice kind of arc going down, going low, going up again. Like this is a very nice arc. Ease. This was a spacing that was really close. So it's kind of like the phone is like tying it all together. And hiding the pops a little bit. Like it goes from this looking back immediately to the side view in the head, immediately to the front view, immediately. Well, it kind of stays like in a front 3/4 view. And the phone is smoothing that out. And then you have that little catch ease here in the hair and in the arm and upper body that is kind of catching that. Now Kid is just being slid in, but this time he has an ease. Do you see this? Like Kid's spacings get smaller. And they have quite some ease frames. Like there's 1, 2, 3, 4. Like this is like the most ease frames that we have had to really sell that slide. And again, we have those elements that are kind of animated fluently. The paper. Interestingly, they're all like kind of interlocked. You have some paper move and some paper stay still. I usually try to avoid this. I wonder if they experimented with this and they did this because it's more chaotic if you have some frames where some papers are still and some papers are moving. Maybe that makes it seem more fluent than it actually is. That's interesting. Usually when I do animation styles like this where everything is on twos, I try to keep everything moving on the same set of twos. I wonder why they did that. Which software was used for this? Mr. Creative says maybe Toon Boom. Yeah, my suspicion is also that this is Toon Boom because it is animated by Mercury Filmworks, and Mercury Filmworks already did Wander Over Yonder for Craig McCracken, and that was done in Harmony. So I'm fairly confident that this also is Toon Boom Harmony rigs with like lots of replacement parts. Look how the camera is supporting what he says.
Invaders!
Like this nice little style at the end and how the music and everything goes together. Here we have some nice anticipation. Like we have this big sweep gesture up. Like this might actually be the longest animation gesture that we had here. Like there's an actual like slowish motion where the hands go up in the air, and it stresses an important point that he wants to fight against the invaders. And then we have like this going from up here to immediately, look how it just goes this huge distance. We have some catching frames. We need a name for this. I think catching frames is a good name. And then boom, it goes into that up pose, and then we have him punch in. We have the cape being animated a little bit during that punch in. Really nice. Look how creatively this is cut. Like we have this side view from behind the bar. We have the reverse shot of that, but shot through the mother's legs. And then we have a full-on face shot of the mother. Now we go completely sideways. Isn't that crazy how the camera jumps around? It is kind of actiony, but it's also very geometric in a way. And now we have this clear anticipation and her jumping with like this clear leap. Really nice. And him ducking, Kit ducking, is the anticipation for jumping up on the counter, coming down. He is stuck in mid-air for an ease and then coming down. And now we have a shot that is more dynamic. Before that we had like a straight on shot, and now we have a shot again that is looking a little bit upwards where the angle's a little bit tilted. Look at the fingers. I love finger shapes like this where you like group fingers together and then you have one breaking out. Very nice. That guy's reaction, that guy's facial expression. The only animation I think throughout this entire clip that I don't like is her facial expression now. Like, I get what it's supposed to do. It's like her looking around, but I feel like it's too much for that little time frame. Like, this is really the only moment that I don't like, especially there are also so many poses in the face. Like, this is the only time throughout the entire... I think I even noticed it while watching the episodes, where I felt like, okay, this is a bit too much, too choppy, in the wrong way. Look at how they sell little motion. Like, we saw how in big poses they kind of like cheat a lot, but sometimes in those little eye motions there's actually a lot of work in it. Like, we have this little anticipation of the eyes closing with a replacement frame, then him switching to the eyes going to the left, and we catch that with a little bit of an ease. Like, even for little just looking around moments like this. Oh, and then he's turning his head. This is something that realistically happens a lot too, that with the eyes we look into a direction first and then turn the head. So in a way, this is quite realistic acting for like a super cartoony show and a super cartoony animation style. Really nice to have it go those two steps. Like, even a pose-to-pose heavy show puts in those little realistic bits of human behavior. You hear something, your eyes dart in that direction, and then you turn the head. Really nice and really realistic. Hello, Infinite Imagination. Nice to see you. All right. The thing is, I actually wanted to have a look at another scene that is here in this clip. Oh, maybe we should also look at the poses here. There is an episode where they start doing like a documentary, and in that documentary they have this title card of them, and I really love this animation. Like, look at Papa G, how look especially like at the feet and the legs, how it's like he's doing those same poses. Like, he flipped into this pose and then he's just dipping down a couple of times and then he flips again. Look at that. Look at how he flips over. And then he does that same thing mirrored, dipping down, dipping again, flipping over, and then going into the final pose. And the final pose is actually very interesting for Papa G because he closes this negative space. Like, while the animation was going on, I don't think this negative space is problematic, but if the pose would be held for longer, I think you would notice this negative space as like something that sucks the gaze into it, like it would draw attention to this negative space. And they close this negative space by him crouching down. And this makes this biggest negative space here around Kid, which I think is a very good way of getting the gaze from that negative space here to that negative space on the right. Yeah, so we have like a nice area for Kid to be seen. Also, there are a bunch of lines framing Kid and pointing to him. Like, we have this nice frame. It's interesting that he's not in the middle of this. But yeah, we kind of have like this little space that was made just for us to catch him. See what's going on. Yeah, Dark Knight, the software is probably Toon Boom. Hey Yashwant, new to animation. That's cool. Do you want to do 2D animation or 3D animation? It's definitely a fascinating art form to get into. By the way, I love that the cat is doing nothing throughout the entire thing. Like, the cat is just being still. Like, really also characterizes him. Now, next I would like to look with you at the poses that Kid does. Look at this. Look at this cool line of action. And then we have like this straight angle coming out. Ah, this is so gorgeous. So it goes immediately from this to that. Look how it drags the foot over. Like, I'm just making a tutorial about how to do a character stepping aside and stuff like this. And one thing that I teach there is like, try to plant the feet on the ground, only make a step when the character's actually making a step. Like, have a pose where the, in this case, it would be like lifting up this foot while the other one is still on the ground. This is how you realistically would have to do it, right? You would have to place this foot first before you could lift the other foot, right? Craig McCracken doesn't care. The animators who worked on this, they just drag the foot over where they need it to be. And these sorts of things you should only make when you really know what you're doing. Yeah, Dark Knight. Yashwant, welcome to the animation world. I do like the two-step process here. We have like this already being set up, and then ding, we just have that little gesture here that puts more attention to that foot. because, you know, the other stuff was relatively still, and then we have like this big motion here, and then he's coming down immediately. And again, look at that, how he's just changing his stance in a total unrealistic way. It goes from the foot being here to the legs being spread apart. It just completely jumps over what would have to happen here. And no in-betweens for the fist pumps. It's just pose A, pose B, pose A, pose B, pose A, pose B. And then it sometimes has like this little punch in ease for his fist. Oh, look at the smear frame for the hand coming out of here and going into this new pose with a little bit of an ease, and then jumping into a new pose. This is so wild. You know what, guys? We should, at some point, we should try to animate something in that style. I think that would be really fun. Again, a pose that gets glued a little bit with this little ease, and then suck, Kid is up here with like a little ease coming down into the hero pose. And they all come into that pose relatively at the same time. Like everything is wild here, but then they hit the end pose and they have the same like ease frames exactly in sync. Really nice. Mr. Creative says, personally struggling at timing and camera angles in my animation. Yeah, that is difficult stuff. Like, actually, I think if you do a very good like animatic phase, you can make your life a lot easier during animation. If you figure out the timing during the animatic and the camera angle during the storyboarding, you have your head a little freer for when it comes to the actual animation. But yeah, camera angles is often you need to try a lot. One thing that I like to do sometimes is to do like a very basic 3D scene in Blender. Like if I would have like the scene in the bar that we saw at the beginning of this, I would probably I would just put blocks there, like a block for the bar, a block for the walls, and then I would take the camera and try to find interesting angles and maybe draw the character into the scene and move that around, something like this. So you actually in 3D space, I guess you could also do it with like cardboard boxes or something and your phone camera and try to find interesting angles, and then they would already be perspectively correct because you're working with 3D or with real paper models. That is something that can make it a lot easier to find camera angles rather than finding them just like from the top of your head and constructing them. I think it's nice to have an actual room that you can work with. Alrighty. I love this Chuck character, this alien, so much. And how they use the tongue when he's speaking. Is he speaking again? I don't think so. Okay, so this scene I wanted to show you for several reasons. How, like a little bit also on how the story is told. Kid already found his superpower. This is such a nice lighting, such nice colors. The characters are tinted blue to really sell this night area. We have very symmetric poses. Look at her freaking hand shape. This is so awesome. I love that. And her like bracelets, like the angles here and the lines going over here. This is so gorgeous. Like this just is a still shot. I really love this. And I like here how, look at how we have like these symmetric poses, because this is about focusing, concentrating, finding your your inner strength or inner calm to use the superpowers. But then we have those moments breaking that, you know, we have her breaking out of the symmetry. Look at how the head is tilted. This is very important. Straight connection to his eyes, very good. Very powerful. And then she goes inwards to a symmetric pose again. Love this, love these hand shapes. And then him, same thing, like he's symmetric, and then he has like this little breakout from the symmetry that really punches this into a direction. Like, you know, this whole pose supports the eye line of him going into that other direction. I love the broken lines here, really nice. You know, in general, like here, broken everywhere. This is so interesting. Love that little hair puff. There's so much to be said here about this gorgeous art style. And then he's going back to the symmetry. And his gestures are stressing like big words in this animation. I'm gonna play it in a second so you can see. And then I love this, like he's telling her to think about it and want it and focus on it, but don't. And for this but don't, he has like this great breakout from the symmetry, again pushing into her direction. Isn't this nice? The energy in his arms, like, and especially that the thickness changes in the arms, like, this is such a nice art style. I really love it. Very geometric angles here in the other arm, very straight lines, such a great mix. And then he's coming back to the symmetry to tell her to get calmer. Also in just like a flip, like we have this big breakout here. Anticipation, boom, this big energetic breakout, and then with just a little bit of an ease, and then he immediately flips back into the middle for quite a slow motion comparatively to the other motions. Look how nice this is, how it goes from like the spread out fingers together, and then back to the hand shape here. Like how this is one big swoop coming down to the sides and like really gesturing this like, get calm. Really nice. I'm gonna play this once with sound, and notice how his pose stresses words.
No, listen. You gotta want it, but not want it. I mean, I know. It's hard not to think about having superpowers, but don't. Then you will.
Isn't this awesome? But don't. And you will. I love this animation. I wanted to show it to you because I think it's absolutely gorgeous. And then we have this breath. You know, an animation as crazy and wacky like this now lets us see his breath. Like, do you see how many frames that was comparatively to everything else that we have seen so far? We're like, really nice, really smooth where it needs to be smooth. Okay. Easy L says, I'm new to animation and have a comic book background. What other animation studies have you done? Chuck Jones cartoons are always a good thing to study. Throw your favorite cartoons or your favorite moments into SyncSketch, draw over it, and see what you can learn from it. Yeah, personally, I basically, whenever I like something, like right now, I would throw that into SyncSketch or just a video player where I can go frame by frame. And look, you can learn a lot from that. All right. Hoochies, I don't quite know what you mean. And look how the camera pan, really important in this scene. Like we're focused, like we had this nice establisher shot. Then we have Kid doing stuff for a little while. And then we just have this pan over to be like, oh, by the way, she's also still there. Like, and her facial expression is just standing still. That's really nice. But yeah, then she sees off screen again. Very interesting choice. Off screen that his power started working. And she's like, okay, I'm gonna try this too. Camera focuses on her, just like she is focusing on her power. And then we have this nice revelation that, yeah, her power worked. She opened up a portal up here in the air. And we have this close call. Very nice and facial expression here, again with the lines around the eye. Nice camera shake. And this, how long the look down is, and you can see her, hear her screaming in the sound only, where it's like there are phases to realizing her superpower. Like first she realizes, oh, there's a plane. Then the plane goes whooshing above her head. Then she's looking left, she's looking after it, then she's looking down. See how guided this is, how this has like little beats that get bigger and that make her realize the extent of her superpower little by little. It's just really nice how this is guided. Like a less experienced storyteller, often they are too explicit. They'd be like, the first portal happens, and then like, oh, I have portal superpowers. But it's like throwing her into a dangerous situation, making her look around, making her look down. Like she has to come to a grasp with this. And, you know, even Kid goes through phases to like understand what's happening. Oh, she's beheaded. She will never be forgotten. And then he realizes that it is a portal. And see how many steps they take to piece this together? Even if the audience already knows it, even if the audience already kinda understood it, that I think like is an excellent storyboarding job. I feel like I think Craig McCracken's shows are often storyboarded rather than written, and it really shines. Like it takes those looking left, right, looking at, hey, what happened here, going into like, oh, you will never be forgotten, and then, oh, she's up there, I come up there. Like these are all spatial relationships that are made and decided on during the storyboarding process. And think about how many beats that are, how many back and forth, how many looking left and right, coming to one conclusion, coming to another conclusion, how many steps that takes. And this is a beginner mistake that I see very often, that it's like, oh, I opened a portal, oh my god, I can open portals. Like this is not how this is introduced here. And I think it works really well. So I hope I could show you why I like this animation series, why I like this animation style, and what makes it work. And if you have a similar post-to-post animation style, like if you want to make animation for YouTube, this would be a great animation style for YouTube, because you save a lot of work by just modifying frames a little bit rather than redrawing everything all the time. So I think this is a really important animation style to study for modern animators who want to animate for the internet, for solo animators who want to make their own projects alone. Like this is an animation style that makes it actually feasible to do animation, an entire episode, an entire short film on your own, rather than having everything with a lot of in-betweens and very smooth. You might have a wacky and fun cartoony story that could work with this animation style. Yeah, so this is kind of what I wanted to show you today. We maybe have some time for a couple of questions if there's still some open questions, if there's still some stuff that you want to talk about. Actually, question from me would be, how many of you have seen the series? Have you already seen Kid Cosmic on Netflix? And what are your thoughts about it? I'd like to discuss a little bit more what you guys think about the scene, what your favorite parts were, what your favorite things are about the show. And yeah, maybe if you haven't seen it, maybe you're interested now in watching it. It's a lot of fun. There are some plot holes, kinda, but it's interesting how the rest of the series is so good that it like makes me forget my very like usually I'm very strict about plot holes, but somehow in Kid Cosmic I don't mind the plot holes so much because it's just so much wacky fun and the animation is so good and I want to have so many frames as a poster on my wall. So yeah, a big recommendation from me if you haven't seen the series, then Kid Cosmic is definitely worth a watch. JP Park says I have to check it out. Amal, we were talking about Kid Cosmic. We're almost at the end now, but if you want to see some animation analysis, you might want to rewind a little bit and watch how we are analyzing the animation of Kid Cosmic. Yeah. AVT, I like these analysis. Thank you very much. I really appreciate it. Okay. All right. I don't see much more questions in the... There was a question at the very beginning where I said that we might get to that later. I think from Bernard. No, from Sushant. Are you still there? You were asking how to start animation. Well, if you want to learn 2D animation, you might want to have a look at our animation class. We have a 2D animation class that you can start right now on animatorisland.com/2D. Lots of free videos about how to get started with with 2D animation. And yeah, I'd be very happy if you learn from it. It has a focus on open tunes in the later episodes. I'm going to show you how to do a lot of it in open tunes. But of course, it is true for a bunch of other animation softwares. Like the animation principles are always important, no matter what animation software you're using. Let's check the chat one more time. AVT, how to decide the camera angles. How to decide camera angles. Well, you know, there are some general rules for camera angles that we can maybe have a look at. Like one rule for camera angles, there's like the 360-degree rule. If you have person A, let's actually use different colors. So there are a couple of things to keep in mind when planning camera angles if you have multiple people involved. And we have like person A and person B. Then there are a couple of ways to do this. Like usually what you would like is that people stay in the edge where they started. So if we have person A and person B here, and we have like an over-the-shoulder kind of scene, one basic decision that you have to make is on what side of the screen you want what character to be, and then usually, oh, I wrote A into this bubble. This, of course, is not true. We have a person. person A here. So yeah, this is how you would do like a classic over the shoulder. You would try to keep the person who is on the left, you would always keep on the left, and the person who's on the right, you would always keep on the right. And you do that by having the camera only rotate around one side of the room. Like you would have like an axis here, and you would put the camera only on that side of the axis. This is like the 360-degree rule. That is one of the rules that you could do. So this covers what axis the camera can be around the camera, the people, how it can evolve around the people that you are showing. You know, it also have B and A. Then, of course, there's the decision like, do you want to look down or up? Let's say person A is threatening person B, then you might want to do like an upward angle. Like if we have a bad guy, we look up at him. And maybe we have person B pressed against the frame. And one thing that I found very important for finding camera angles in storyboarding is draw a perspective grid for the floor and the ceiling. This way you make sure if you are looking up or down. Do you see this? How just this little bit of a perspective grid makes it so much clearer what the camera angle is. So this first was the camera angle around our protagonists from the side, and this is the up and down angle. Excuse me. And yeah, this of making the ground more dimensionally is also true for if you have like a horizon, then don't place your characters just on the horizon line like this. This looks very boring, like you have this tightrope where you have all your characters placed on. What you should do instead is you should create some actual 3D space, like where you have the characters actually be on the ground. Do you see what I mean? That can make a huge difference. And then you could experiment further. Like we have, if this is our subject, we have that camera angle clear now. We have that camera angle clear now. And then of course you can also tilt the camera. So if we take this one, we could like tilt the horizon to make it seem like, oh, she can't escape, like he is cornering her in. And you know, maybe we have other lines of the room pointing towards that wall, pointing towards her. Isn't that nice how cornered in she feels? Well, I mean, it's not nice for the character probably. It's a very threatening scene. But yeah, those are things that you can try. And then one thing that is connected with intensity, like far away camera shots like this one, they are always connected with like giving an overview. Like this is giving an overview of the scene. But if things intensify, you would go a lot closer to the characters. Like you would probably have a scene of the bad guy where it's only the bad guy being like, and we still, do you see that we're still looking up at him? We still have him be higher, but we now don't have her in the screen, in the scene anymore. And then we could cut to her being like just all small down here. We can even like, we can have a close-up of that character, but look how much headroom we give her. Like she has all this headroom here of him looming over her. Like we don't really see him, but we have like this there's something above her feeling. So that is a something that you can play with too. Like how much headroom do you have above a character? We could also have no headroom above the evil character. And, you know, have him be even more threatening here. Yeah, so those are things that I like to play with during my storyboards. It's the angle around the characters, the up and down angle, the how close you are, that usually intensifies things. Then one thing you could also do is like play with things that give you like a frame. Like if there was a door, you could frame the character within the door like this, and this would give you like a frame within a frame. And that can really make your character feel boxed in. Or we're kind of doing that here. Like this creates a frame within a frame. That is something that you can always do to box in a character and make it feel threatening and like there's not a lot of space. Thank you for subscribing, ML. So yeah, those are some storyboarding tips that I can think about now. Hello, Animators Inspire. We already left the animation analysis and are now like in some storyboarding topics. Mr. Creative has a suggestion. Let me see if I can show this. Mr. Creative, basically I learned storyboard and camera angles in Sketch to Animate channel on directing for Storybook. Okay. Yeah, I think I've seen stuff from that. Very good recommendation. AVT, I'm doing a solo project in which 3 friends are talking, and after some time the 4th guy appears who was eavesdropping. Okay. I was not able to decide the angles. The 4th guy is a villain. So one thing that you could do, like if the characters are like talking amongst each other, you can like kinda have like an order for them. Like you have them like in 3 positions that help you to establish them in the room. Like you have always one that is more in the middle, and then you can like group them. Like when A is saying something, maybe A is talking down on them, so A could be like little bit in this frame. You have B and C on like different heights. And what you could do if you want to have the impression that somebody is already listening in, like you kind of could already have something like a placeholder for the fourth character. Like maybe there's like a wall or something coming in. You know, like you have them doing their super secret stuff here. But there's always like a little bit that hints that there will be another party coming in, that there will be another person coming in, you know, without even showing it. Yeah, the thing is, with 3 characters, you probably have props around them. You probably have like a table. They're probably doing a lot of important gestures, depending on how the storyboard is. It's really difficult to give some additional advice to that. But the reveal is also very interesting. Like, how do we want to reveal the fourth person coming in? Like, do you want the characters to be caught off guard? Then you could reveal the fourth person like stepping in, and we have like the other 3 like be kind of like in a group here. Like, oh, we were not expecting that, and they are like kind of grouped together, and this one is standing for himself. You could also have a moment where he's just listening in on them. And maybe happy to be about interrupting. I don't know. There are many different ways to do this. As I said, I would recommend blocking the scene out in Blender or 3D software, putting some blocks in, or in real life, taking like I don't know, take what you have laying around, like get a cardboard thing and like put little things there to be like, okay, this is that, and then take your phone camera and try to find different angles. I think that can really work to help you feel out the room a little more and to see, for example, the 360-degree rule in front of you. All right. I also want to recommend our Patreon. We have a Patreon on patreon.com/animatorisland. If you like what we're doing, you can support us there by just donating a couple bucks every month, and I will use that to make more tutorials for 2D animation mostly, and hopefully more animation analysis like this, more live streams. Or you could join in the group mentoring tier. And in the group mentoring tier, you can bring whatever you're currently working on. It can be a story idea. It could be a storyboard like this one with the villains, and we could look over it together and make it even better. If you bring animation, I will analyze it frame by frame, draw over it, or just a character design. We could talk about character design, storytelling, all these things in the group. Yeah, that's the monthly group mentoring over on Patreon. If you want monthly input and also, a deadline to help yourself accountable, monthly feedback, monthly progress with your work, then you might want to check that out on patreon.com/animatorisland. I probably also have the text down here. And there are already some nice people there. We'll also discuss things in the group. You get ideas from other group member. And occasionally, as the group is growing, we will invite guest mentors. So you not only get my perspective, but you also get advice from other professional experts from the industry. So if you want feedback to your art and animation from a professional mentor, please check out the group mentoring tier on Patreon. Anyway, is there more? Oh, Animators Inspire, I'm going to join soon. That's great to hear. I'd love to welcome you in the group. Are there any more questions? Any more little things that we can tackle real quick? And yeah, once again, I have to say, what an amazing series that Kid Cosmic series is on Netflix. Really check it out if you haven't. Invite Ethan Becker as a guest mentor. I have to say, I don't know them personally or something like this. But yeah, maybe that's a thing that we can do if the group gets bigger. Because it's on Patreon, because it's paid, I can actually hire other animators to give you guys advice. And I also kind of want to open that more in like the live streams. You know, maybe we can have some guests in the free live streams occasionally. And yeah, this is something that Patreon can really help with, to make this channel bigger, but also allow me to actually hire people that can teach you guys stuff that I can't teach. Hello, Seven. But yeah, with this, unfortunately, I already have to wrap up the live stream. I hope you had as much fun as I did looking at the animation of Kid Cosmic. And then in the end, I really like that we have had a little excursus, a little additional lesson about storyboarding and storyboarding angles. I really want to do a real video on that too soon. Yeah, 7, it was a long time. I try to live stream more regularly now, but you know, you know how that is with producing regular content and that. To give you guys a little bit of a lookout on what I'm working on 2 tutorials. One frame-by-frame tutorial where we have like a little blob monster jumping up and down in OpenToonz. And then in the 2D animation series, we're going to go a little more into body mechanics. And this is actually something that I already did on stream. And then I did it again for the tutorial to really teach body mechanics for a character taking a step from left to the right. And while I was recording the tutorial, I realized that I had done a couple of things not wrong, but I always did them like instinctively without finding the rules. And for you guys in my tutorials, I want to find the rules. I want to find instructions that you can follow. And I have to redo the entire animation because the entire tutorial, because I found other ways to, you know, go systematically about it, give you advice and guidelines on how to do it. So yeah, this is the animation that I was working on with for a tutorial, like a really physically accurate step to the left. And I think I just have to redo everything to teach you guys a little more systematically about how to do this animation. Yeah, so that is something that I'm working on. But I have to throw everything away that I already recorded to give you guys an even better tutorial. It's so, I mean, I like it when I record a tutorial and I realize like, maybe I can go more smarter about this. Maybe I can use an even better workflow. So I'm trying to find the best workflows possible to teach to you guys, but sometimes that means that I have to redo a tutorial, and that is why there wasn't a tutorial this month, because, you know, I want to do better. Animators Inspire, do you know when the next live stream will be? I hope next week, Thursday or Friday, 4 o'clock, a little bit later. 4 o'clock for me, European time, a little bit later. I'll try to announce it a day in advance or something like this. But yeah, we will see. Yeah, unfortunately, there's a lot of stuff to do this week. But I love hanging out with you guys, chatting with you, and I try to make that more regularly. Yeah, in any case, thank you guys so much for watching. If you have any other questions, please write them in the comments. Let me know what you think about the Kid Cosmic Netflix series, what do you think about the animation analysis. And I hope you're having a fantastic day wherever you are in the world, and keep on animating. See you again, hopefully, on this channel. Bye-bye.